Have you ever noticed that the moment you stop chasing something, it starts chasing you? That's the silent power of detachment. It's not about ignoring, it's about knowing your worth so deeply that you don't have to beg for anyone's attention. Men by nature are drawn to women who carry this quiet confidence, women who know how to detach. Detachment is misunderstood. Many people think it means being cold or emotionless, but in reality, it's the opposite. It's about being so secure in who you are that you no longer fear losing anyone. First, detachment creates mystery. When a woman doesn't overshare her emotions or constantly seek reassurance, she radiates an aura that keeps men intrigued. Mystery fuels attraction because people always desire what they can't easily possess. 2-second, emotional independence is magnetic. A woman who doesn't rely on validation shows she has her own life, her own goals, her own peace. That independence is powerful. It makes men respect her, not just desire her. 3/3 detachment earns respect. When a woman refuses to settle for less than she deserves, when she can walk away from situations that don't honor her value, men recognize her strength. Respect grows when she shows she's not afraid to choose herself. 4, finally, self-control is ultimate power. Detachment is discipline. It's the ability to feel deeply but not be controlled by emotions. This self-mastery creates a magnetic presence because true power is calm, not desperate. You ever notice how the people who don't seem pressed for attention end up being the ones everybody wants? That's not an accident. That's energy. That's presence. That's detachment working in silence. The first thing we need to understand is this detachment creates mystery, and mystery creates value. Think about it. If you walk into a room and somebody is too eager, too available, too loud about what they want, the energy feels off. But when you meet someone who doesn't reveal everything right away, who doesn't need to prove themselves, your curiosity wakes up. You start asking questions in your head. Who are they really? What do they know that I don't? Why do they seem so calm while everyone else is trying so hard? There's an old saying, silence is the best reply to fools, but silence also happens to be the best invitation to curiosity. A woman who practices detachment isn't playing games. She's just not rushing to give her soul away. She knows her time, her energy, her love are valuable, and value always carries mystery. Diamonds don't sit on sidewalks. They're locked away, protected, rare. When something is rare, people chase it harder. When something is everywhere, people overlook it. Let me give you a short story. There was this young woman who always gave too much too fast. Every time she met someone new, she poured her whole life out, gave all her attention, made herself available 24/7. And every time the same thing happened, the excitement died quick. Not because she wasn't beautiful, not because she wasn't smart, but because there was no mystery left. She was like a book you could read in one sitting. The man never had to earn her, never had to discover her, never had to wonder about her. But then she learned. She started focusing on herself, moving in silence, keeping certain things private. She became present, but not desperate. Guess what happened? The same people who once overlooked her started chasing her energy. Mystery ain't about being secretive for no reason. It's about understanding that people value what they work for. The less you give away for free, the more people are willing to invest. A detached woman knows this without even saying it. She doesn't have to beg for respect because her presence demands it. And listen, detachment is powerful because it flips the script. Most people think attachment equals love, but attachment often equals fear. When you're too attached, you fear losing, you fear being alone, you fear being forgotten. But when you're detached, you move from a different place. You're not afraid to walk away. You're not afraid to say no, and that fearlessness makes people lean in. The less you need, the more they want. Now let's talk about the second point, emotional independence. This is where the game really changes. Emotional independence is like oxygen. It keeps your soul alive. A woman who is emotionally independent doesn't rely on someone else to tell her she's beautiful, to validate her choices, to confirm her worth. She already knows. She doesn't need compliments to survive. She sees them as bonuses, not necessities. There's a line I once heard, the moment you stop chasing validation, you start attracting respect. And that's the truth. Emotional independence isn't about not feeling. It's about not depending. A woman who has her own goals, her own rhythm, her own sense of self, she's magnetic. She can share her life without losing herself in the process. That's rare. Imagine two women. One spends her whole day waiting on a text back, her mood depending on whether or not he replies. The other spends her day building her dreams, working on her fitness, studying something new, or casing a passion. Which one do you think holds more power? Which one do you think a man will respect more? People are drawn to energy that feels complete. When you're emotionally independent, you're not begging for someone to complete you. You're already whole. That's attractive because nobody wants to carry the weight of another person's emptiness. People want to join someone who's already moving, someone who's already shining. Let me give you another story. There was a man who loved testing people. He'd give a woman less attention on purpose just to see how she reacted. Most of them would panic, blow up his phone, question him, beg for answers. But one woman didn't. She stayed calm, kept living her life, didn't lose her balance. You know what he said later? He said she was unforgettable. Why? Because she showed she wasn't depending on him for her happiness. That shook him. That made him respect her in a way no begging or chasing ever could. Here's the truth most people don't want to admit. When you're too available, people take you for granted. But when you're emotionally independent, you teach people how to treat you. You show them that your happiness is not for sale, that your peace is not negotiable. And that level of strength commands attention. Emotional independence is also about boundaries. A woman who respects herself enough to say, "This is not for me," or "I won't accept that," instantly earns respect, because people test boundaries all the time. And if you don't stand firm, they'll keep pushing. But when you stand firm with grace, with calmness, with detachment, you don't even have to argue. Your energy says it all. There's a famous quote, "The one who needs nothing attracts everything." That's emotional independence in a sentence. When you stop needing someone to validate you, you stop chasing and you start attracting. You don't come off desperate, you come off powerful. And power is magnetic. Now, this doesn't mean don't love, don't care, don't feel. That's not what detachment and independence are about. It means don't let your entire identity depend on somebody else's approval. Love deeply, but love yourself deeper. Care for others, but never abandon your own peace. Feel emotions, but don't let emotions drive you into desperation. You see, mystery and emotional independence work hand in hand. Mystery draws people in, emotional independence keeps them respecting you. Mystery sparks curiosity. Independence sustains value. Together, they create a force that's hard to ignore. Think about the people you admire most, the ones who move like they know themselves. The ones who don't explain everything, don't justify everything, don't beg for anything. They're living proof that when you stop overgiving, when you stop needing, you gain power. And that power is exactly what makes people lean in. So when we talk about why men are drawn to detached women, the answer isn't complicated. Men are drawn because mystery keeps the fire alive and emotional independence makes the connection strong. One makes them chase, the other makes them respect. And together, they create the kind of presence that nobody forgets. That's why the most powerful thing a woman can ever master isn't how to please others. It's how to master herself. Because once you master yourself, everything else starts moving in your direction. You ever notice how the less you care about something, the more it seems to chase you? That's not luck, that's energy. That's how the universe moves when you understand the power of detachment. People confuse detachment with not caring, but that's not a detachment. It's knowing your value so deeply you don't need to prove it to anybody. It's standing tall in who you are without forcing anybody to recognize it. Mystery is what keeps the world turning. People don't line up for what's everywhere. They line up for what's rare, what's limited, what feels like it could disappear tomorrow if they don't appreciate it today. When a woman carries herself with detachment, she creates that same feeling. She's present, but she's not pressed. She's there, but she's not begging for a spotlight. And that's exactly what makes people want to know more. Think about this, a book that gives away the ending on page 1 doesn't sell. Nobody wants to finish it because there's nothing left to discover. But a book that gives you just enough to keep you turning the pages, a book that leaves questions in your head, that's the one you can't put down. That's how detachment works. It leaves room for curiosity. I remember meeting this young woman once, beautiful, smart, kind. But every time she got into a relationship, she gave too much too soon. Every detail about her life, every ounce of her time, every bit of her energy gone in the first week. She thought giving everything would make somebody stay, but all it did was make them leave faster. Why? Because the mystery was gone. She was too easy to read, too available, too predictable. Then she switched it up. She started putting herself first, her work, her health, her peace. She stopped rushing to give away her whole soul, and instead, she let people earn pieces of her. Suddenly, she wasn't chasing anybody anymore. The same men who once overlooked her started chasing her. What changed? Her value didn't change. She just stopped giving it away for free. There's a quote I've always lived by. People respect what you protect. When you protect your energy, your time, your peace, you teach people it's not cheap. And when it's not cheap, they treat it like it's priceless. That's the mystery detachment creates. It makes people see you as someone worth discovering, not someone who's already been figured out. Now, let's get into emotional independence. This is the foundation of everything. You can't talk about detachment without emotional independence because the two go hand in hand. Emotional independence is knowing that your happiness isn't sitting in someone else's pocket. It's not in a text message. It's not in somebody's opinion. It's not in how somebody treats you today. It's inside you. It's built by you, and it's protected by you. A woman who's emotionally independent doesn't need someone to clap for her before she feels successful. She doesn't need constant reassurance to believe she's beautiful. She already knows. That's not arrogance. That's security. That's self-love. And the truth is, self-love is magnetic. It pulls people in without you having to do anything extra. Let me tell you a quick story. There was this man who used to test women. He'd pull back his attention, stop calling for a few days just to see what they'd do. Most of them panicked. They'd blow up his phone, question him, beg him to explain himself. And every time he lost interest. But then he met a woman who was different. When he pulled back, she didn't chase. She didn't complain. She stayed focused on her life, her goals, her own peace. When he came back, she was still good, calm, happy, unbothered. And that shook him. He couldn't forget her because she showed him something he wasn't used to. She wasn't depending on him for her joy. That kind of strength makes people remember you forever. See, when you're emotionally independent, you move different. You're not checking your phone every 2 minutes, waiting on a reply that'll decide your mood. You're not bending over backwards for people who don't appreciate it. You're not living off other people's validation. You're already whole. And when you're whole, you don't attract from a place of need. You attract from a place of power. There's another quote, the one who needs nothing attracts everything. That's emotional independence in one line. Because when you stop needing, you stop chasing. And when you stop chasing, you start pulling. People can feel the difference. Neediness repels, power attracts. Picture 2 women. The first one spends her day checking if he texted back, her mood swinging up and down depending on how much attention she gets. The second one spends her day building herself, working on her career, her body, her mind. Which one do you think people admire more? Which one do you think gets remembered? The second woman always, because she's not waiting for somebody to fill her up. She's already overflowing. And here's the key. Emotional independence doesn't mean you don't care about people. It means you don't collapse when they're not around. You can love somebody deeply and still know you'd be fine without them. You can give love without losing yourself in the process. That's strength. That's balance. Boundaries are another part of this. A woman who's emotionally independent sets boundaries with ease. She doesn't scream. She doesn't argue. She just decides. She knows what she will accept and what she won't, and she stands on it. People might test her, but they learn quickly that her peace is not negotiable. That kind of self-respect earns respect from everyone around her. And here's what's crazy. When you combine mystery with emotional independence, you create something unstoppable. Mystery pulls people in. Independence keeps them respecting you. One gets their attention, the other keeps it. That's the formula. That's the energy shift. Think about your favorite artists, leaders, or people you admire. They don't tell you everything. They move with a little mystery. They don't need constant approval because they already know their worth. And that's why people chase their energy. That's why their presence feels heavy. So when men are drawn to detached women, it's not because they want someone cold or distant. It's because detachment creates an aura of value, and emotional independence proves that aura is real. It's rare, and rare things will always attract attention. So here's the truth. Women who detach don't do it to play games. They do it to protect their peace, to honor their worth, and to stand firmly in their power. And that is exactly why men are drawn to them. Detachment isn't rejection. It's attraction at its highest level. The moment you stop needing, you start attracting. The power of detachment is the power of self-love, and there's nothing more irresistible than that.